I don't want to put you off doing that, but you're doing that to build up resilience to fight the real fight. Because this is not about PCNs, it's about the real fight. It's a spiritual war, and so we're here as like, what is it, the 4 horsemen? To help you fight this spiritual war. So I'm out there. The bombs I'm dropping, truth bombs that is by the way, are getting louder and clearer. As we all grow, then the message gets louder and clearer. So hopefully we'll get some clarity today. All right? Thank you very much.
Julia, do you want to say just hi? Julia of Biggleswick, on a roller coaster crash course and learning lots of this stuff on Richard's coattails. And well, life is good, and it's only going to get better, isn't it? Because we're all learning and we're all pushing for it. So.
Thanks, Richard.
Hello. I run a YouTube channel, which is all about stuff.
Okay. Well, I'm Sovereign Pete, and basically I'm an engineer. That's what I was doing my whole life, but I was studying this like part-time as a hobby for 30 plus years. And I don't know if you know my story, but I was trying to develop my own supercar, and then 2020 happened. The globalists decided to shut down the whole planet, and they pissed me off. So I got angry, so I set up the Sovereign Project. Now we've got over 16,000 members in 75 countries, and we're going to take on the globalists. And what I will do is I will show you how the system works, so then you will understand the remedies, and then you can tip the system over. All right, so I'm like gaining an army of people, an army of sovereigns, and with our individual power, which you all have, and you've all got to take back, we're going to topple the system, all right? And you can ask me any question today, and I'll explain to you how the system works, and I'll give you a remedy. And I've got some exciting stuff to talk about as well. So that's me.
Fantastic, thank you, Pete. Carly.
Hi everyone, I'm Carly Spell, Jill, aka. So I've known these guys for many years now, and it's really cool that we're all beginning to come together and work together. I run a project called Dark Matters, because if we're not looking at the dark and we're not transmuting that within ourselves, then we're projecting that out. In my opinion, we're saying that they're doing it, they are doing it, them, the elites, whoever, whatever, but it's us, isn't it? It's spinning our ignorance and our passivity. So it is about, like Pete says, it's about taking that back, becoming sovereign in the mind. That system's eating its own tail, that system will go down. So we will grab our popcorn, but we can kind of do right action in between. So I deal in debt, unsecured debt, and data. I'm about to kind of go into BSV, which is the original Bitcoin, and the data network me and Karen have spoken about. So there's a lot happening, and if we all kind of just stick together and keep on keeping on, we shall certainly master it. Like I say, that beast is going down whether whatever we do or not. So yeah, thank you very much for being here, guys.
Thanks, Carly. Can I also just introduce Jill? Do you want to just say a quick?
Yes, like many others, I started on this particular journey when the whole thing kicked off 4 years ago, and just realised how I was always a religious bill payer, you know, and then somebody enlightened me to how much I was being ripped off, so I really got into the notice writing, and I've not paid any of them since then. So I started with council tax, and then all the utilities, and then the PCNs, and anything that, you know, I think is a scam, I don't pay them now. And I feel that my role is just to try and connect the dots between all the groups that are going on. So I'm involved with lots and lots of different people and lots of groups, which is what we need to do, is really grow the whole thing together, as Pete was just saying. But also to inspire people who have been too nervous to have a go at writing notices, to see that it can be done and you do get results. I'm not saying it's easy, but I haven't paid anything and nothing bad's happened yet. So
thank you, Jill. So if you have any happy stories, as we like to call them, let us know, because then we can share that with everybody, you know, through our various networks to encourage people to step up and do the work. And that's what is important, because you guys, you know, we're all the same. We might have started the journey a little bit earlier, but it's up to all of us. You know, didn't they tell us that we work together? Wasn't there one of their logos or something? Bring back better,
Build back
better, and all that kind of stuff. Well, we're not going to own that, but you know, you guys have to step up and do the work. I'm sure most of you are, but you know that else it's not going to happen. And a couple of people have already come up to me saying, well, look, I live in a certain area and I don't know anybody. How can I meet somebody? Well, that's why I set up the Freedom Network 4 years ago, so that you guys can find your tribe. You know, you will go onto the website, go onto the map, see if there's a hub in your area, send an email to that hub, it will come up on the map. A lot of these hubs are not replying anymore. They've become very complacent, and it really pisses me off, actually, because, you know, they came forward to help us and to grow their own tribe, but now they're too busy going on holiday or whatever they do. We do need a holiday, I get that, but if you're stepping up to build a tribe, then stand by your word, have integrity. Contact those people near you. If they don't reply, either let me know, I'll remove them, but then you can step up and be that point of contact. You don't have to run the organisation, but you're the first person in your town that somebody can come to you and say, hi, you know, oh my God, there's somebody who thinks like me. Can we meet up for coffee? You know, and then see where it goes. You don't have to set up a home school or build a farm, but you're the first point of contact, and that's how we grow. So the Freedom Network is set up for that, and then if you want to be more specific, work with these other guys. Okay. So I think we should start off. Does anybody have a question to begin with? Is it directed generally to our clever clogs, our experts, or shall we just talk? Who's got a first question?
Did you want to hand it over to me?
Yes, and then that now. That's now. Yeah, it's the first question.
So,
Richard's going to take over.
Just only because I normally.
No, absolutely.
So I just thought it'd be interesting if I'm like the thing between
all yours.
the panel, and if there's any questions and stuff. So I guess what would be good is if people who've got a question, hopefully brought questions with you, otherwise we'll just give you lots of answers. And then we're not asking questions about rose bushes, how to get rid of your slugs, and all of that. So who would like to kick us off? Gentleman over there.
Where are all the young ones?
Where are all the young ones?
I thought that.
They got rid of Rick Mail, didn't they?
They
Let's be fair.
Please tell her the truth, yeah.
Stuck on the phones.
Where are that is a very good question. Anyone want to add to that?
I have a theory on this, but whether it's correct or not. I think a lot of us are who's Generation X, that'd be me, I do believe that they are worshipping being maritime time. They love time. Even the coronation of the king and the late queen is called the arcana, or the arcana of time. So what's happening is, especially with the younger generation, they kind of want, not want transhumanism, but they kind of want the chip in their arm for the iPhone, etc., because they've had it very heavily laden upon them. Whereas Generation X, we didn't have phones, did we? We didn't have laptops, we didn't have the internet. We stayed out all day drinking out of hose pipes. You know, we earned resilience.
Did you say you spent all day drinking out of hose pipes?
Yeah, maybe that's just me, but yeah, I suppose it was that kind of, you know, I came home from school and there were no parents there, both parents worked, so I fed myself, you know, don't mess with Generation X. And I think a lot of people, and I don't like using the word movement, it's like we're holding back these two timelines, yeah? We've got the boomers on this side, we've got the kind of millennials on this side, and we're kind of doing this and holding it back. So we all tend to be of a similar age range, I find. And unfortunately the burden does lie on our shoulders a little.
That said, I have to say, sorry to interrupt,
no.
but on the show I do get contacted and meeting people on these groups. There are actually quite a lot of young people who are aware that things aren't right. They don't know quite what's wrong because they haven't been around that long. But also, it seems to me that they don't do this. They don't gather and debate and talk. And because of that, they're quite isolated. They will have conversations on their phone. And because they're young and arrogant, it's like they go, yeah, I've heard of the WEF, but they're just a bunch of old men, what can they do? Yeah. So I think they're fearless in one respect, but they're also ignorant of the bigger thought. But I think they're ready to step up.
I think you're right. And actually, David, at the other, I think it was in Glastonbury, you described us as the gatekeepers, which I really think is a good description.
Well, we are. The younger generation are basically captured and collectivised, and schooling has been a decades-long, well, actually, well over 100 years. It's been a way of controlling young minds, because if you capture a young mind, you've got them forever. some of us narrowly escape that for various different reasons. Could be a personality issue, could be a social issue, it could be just general arsiness, you know. And we had, as Carly was saying, we had avenues of escape. But now, with stranger danger and gadgets everywhere, they have no time for themselves. Zero time for themselves. It's only when you make time for yourself that you can reflect on the rights and wrongs of what you're doing, thinking and feeling. But they don't have that time. It's all total engagement. Engagement with what? Engagement with the system. And the system is now represented by TikTok. So it's, yes, all right, at that age, to be fair, the most compassionate thing I can think of saying is at that age I didn't want to engage with anything. I was totally apathetic. And the pandemic, the true pandemic is apathy. Not feeling that you can make a difference, not even wanting to make a difference. So this is what we're up against. So we have to somehow, it's a very good question this, where are the young? We have to somehow reach their parents or grandparents and ask the grandparents and parents to pry open a gap in their life that they can step through. Because at the moment, with notable exceptions, that generation is lost and is heading down the tubes, and they don't seem to care.
No, that's it. It's pricing. How do we price that gap? How do we get in there? Because I've got a daughter, yeah, and I was a teacher.
Would it be better if we stood up for you guys in the back? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay. So I've got perhaps a partial answer to that. Is that if my dad had talked to me about anything, I'd have just ignored him. So you've got to get an external body that comes in and talks to her. So someone else, maybe that you know as a way that she's friends of. So yes, you could plant seeds, but it's going to be very combative. So try and get an external entity that comes in and talks to her rather than just...
I like the standing up thing. Just to add to that, I was interviewed on somebody else's show about 6 months ago now, and he was the same age as my eldest son, 33. And at the end of the interview, he said to me, and I've said this in the show a few times, so you may have already heard it, he said, I envy you, your age group, our age group, pretty much. And I said, what do you mean? He said, nobody wants to get to the end of their life too quickly. He said, no. You can talk to anybody at a bus stop, in a shop waiting at the till. You can just set up a conversation about the weather, the chemtrails, whatever it is. He said, but our age group, we can't do that. He said, when we go to the gym, we're literally going in, even to our mates, and just going, watch out. And the conversation is so minimal. Now, it made me think that then we need to engage with those young people, just getting them back the skill of talking about anything. Doesn't matter what it is, because that's a skill that then you can have a conversation with somebody on the bus or wherever it is, and not feel bad, or at least they not feel bad, if you can get them raised from their phones. And then within that conversation, perhaps you're able then to plant a seed to see how much they know, because it may surprise us how much they know, but they've not got anyone to share it with, particularly our age. Is there any more?
Julia's going to say something.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't see you on my
As an
blind.
elder millennial myself, born in
There you go.
81, it's like we need some computer programmers to design some, sovereign games and things like this that actually subtly lead these ideas into their heads, I was chatting to my son the other day, and I took him out to school a year ago at Easter for all the reasons that David Adelman talks about, and more. And I took out some very kind gentleman, gave us both a single gold back, and I very proudly had it in my purse. It's the only one I've got so far, but I took it out and showed him, and said, what do you think of that? He's like, that's interesting. So and we had a long chat about it, but he just, somehow he got the whole gold back thing, But so I said to him, why is this more valuable, or what makes this valuable compared to the money in your wallet? He's like, well, it's gold backed. I was like, I love my genius, but we just, yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything else at the moment, but computer games, that is the way. Oh, TikTok. We need some, maybe I start doing the TikTok, no way. No, we need to get in their world and put these ideas in that way. And spin our tea every
If Taylor Swift, there's 1 million kids in this country. If you look at the numbers and the size of the concert that they are doing, there's almost 1 million people alone in the UK going to a Taylor Swift concert. Now, my 2 kids, who are in an absolute minority because they go to church and my wife's away now, so it's quite nice. So I explained, I said, at some point in this concert, you'll have to close your eyes and say a prayer. And the kids no, Taylor's Christian, and Christianity is obviously educated out of the system. So then at some point, they're there, okay guys, do your little devil's horn. Everyone, put your hand up, one on the head. This has happened at Wembley on Friday. And then it's just the energy harvesting. The kids are educated and completely influenced by that satanistic rhetoric. Because they're educated that, well, it's just all a big game and there's no spirituality, because that's all completely,
Do you think that in the 60s there was a lot of rebellion against the establishment? Do you think that now the rebellion it's like going down to this more darker level because the establishment isn't really...
Well, we could look at, when we were kids, we had, for example, the Cosby Show. Not like I really watched TV because we were out hosepiping. But say young blacks, I know I've read that they had the Cosby effect. Well, actually, you know what? I'm this working class kid from the Bronx and parents are black, but I can be a lawyer or a surgeon. And then Bill Cosby then got replaced by the new generation of Jay-Z and all the gangster rap and the prison system, and so that's now, and the rap, and my kids listen to this rap music, and, yo bitch chose me nigger and all. It's just constant.
So the
and then we got Taylor Swift with the satanistic horns. And
we need more alternative music, but things like Taylor Swift, kids are saving all their money to go to one event.
Yeah,
hundreds and hundreds of pounds to go. All the small music clubs and all this, they're all closing down, and we're not getting new generation of music in, and new words. We're just not seeing it because they took over with all the expense.
Well, the whole music industry's been completely channeled and controlled
into one direction.
And my sleep friends, when I mention something like the Beatles, or it could be the Paul II or the Tavistock, or and then looking at the symbolism on Sgt. Pepper's, they're completely closed down to it all.
It's this Eurobesmanov, isn't it? It's this process of demoralisation, and I think it's the umbrella term that captures what you've kind of been saying there, I think.
Annie, what are you going to say?
I suppose this is kind of slightly my arena. As everyone's seen the Manchester News Arena, the new one, it's a big black cube. They're building these new arenas. Obviously, if you look at sports stadiums from the above as well, they're eyes, aren't they?
Yeah.
Massive symbolism in...
Like the City of London.
Yeah, exactly. And we all know what the City of London means, the city without London. So again, it is decoding things, in my opinion. I always say it. Manly P. Hall said, when we learn the language of symbolism, then a great veil will fall from the minds of men. And it will be their arrogance that will be their undoing. And it already is, it's unravelling, isn't it? And again, with the music and the satanic kind of references, if you kind of go down an occult path, occult simply meaning hidden, what they're trying to do is to get us to stop looking at that, so that we kind of demonize that, the devil horns and all this and this and this. But actually, when you kind of decode that occult path, there's actually quite a lot of power to it. And they're trying, it's an energy harvest, like you say, and that's what they're doing. So especially for kind of our younglings who are kind of, they're going to watch this, aren't they? And they're going, it's a mass, isn't it? These shows are witchcraft and wizardry, but it's just energy, and that's what they're doing, and that's what they've always done. They're harnessing this energy. And celebrity literally means, it translates as to do a ritual. So we're all breaking down Hollywood and all that's falling down. I mean, the thing is that narrative now, and especially for us, but again, I think all we can do is just keep pointing these things out, decoding them. I mean, Christianity, you know, it's okay to be a follower of the Christ consciousness, but there's a tree of death and there's a tree of life. And I don't want to kind of go too occult on everyone's asses, but when we start to kind of decode that, Christianity, anity means annuity, it's a Roman civil tax system. Same with the Christian or Catholic Church. I mean, any recovering Catholics, that's me. And it goes back to what David said, you know, give me a child to the age of 7, which we know in trust terms is when we should kind of express our trusts in that kind of born of a canty way, you know, give me a child to the age of 7 and I'll give you a minion. And it goes 7, 14, 21. That's why they give you your national insurance number at 14. They changed it to 15 actually. And 21 is when, you know, that's the last time you can kind of, not the last time, but easily express our bonds and our trusts. Because that's why they put a 21 key on your card, on your birthday card. So they're rubbing it in our faces all the time. So I think if we can kind of just like plant seeds, it's that be of the world, not in it, you know, in scripture terms, you know, the script. And we use scripture in our notices, don't we, Pete? We use scripture because it's the first technical legal document. So I've nothing against you being a follower of Christ, don't get me wrong, but we know that religion means to hold back, to thwart, to bind. We want to stay away from that. So I think all we can keep doing is highlighting this, showing it. Decode the language, learn the serpent tongue and use it against them. The split language of legalese. And when we decode their symbols and their language, the 0 1s all start to fall down the matrix, yeah? And then you just start to, and it is like, it's exactly what Pete does at the Sovereign Project. Pieces of paper are great, yeah, but they're not going to make you a sovereign. No. It's the mindset. And it literally is Neo running away from the Agent Smith, isn't it? And Smith, I don't know if you know, actually comes from the Cain, the line of Cain. So Agent Smith is the Canaanites of old. And we're like a species with amnesia, yeah? We've just forgotten who we are. And it's a simple and powerful word, and it's just no at the end. Because like I say, that system's eating its own tail, trust me. But that doesn't mean that we can't do, like Jill says, you know, empower yourself with your PCNs, empower yourself with the council tax, because that's that saying no in simple terms, but it starts here. And then we lead by example to the younger generation, hopefully, I think. Thank you.
A few things, actually. We need to shatter their illusions somehow. So if we can persuade them that Michelle Obama, Brigitte Macron and Taylor Swift were born men, right? That would mean a seismic shift in their thinking.
I wouldn't win there, David. I'm glad
yeah, so we've got you've got to remember the difference between being 20 and being 60 is that when you're 60 you don't give a shit, or you shouldn't give a shit. But when you're 20, that you'd rather die than not fit in. So while they're captured, they're all captured en masse. So it's very difficult for us, really. There is hope. There's a young guy called Monty Toms. Anyone heard of Monty Toms? Recently interviewed on Doc Malik. And I met him in Geneva when we did the road to Geneva to protest outside the WHO. So Monty Toms is 18, he might be 19 now, but he is as awake as any of us. And his school never punished him for anything because they just knew they were wasting their time, because he had the answer to everything. So he's got his own channel, and he's the one, and people like him, he's going to be the first who can reach out to teenagers. It's not going to be easy even for him, because he sounds like we do. So they won't recognise what he's saying, but if he can relate stories that, if we can feed him with information, and he can then translate it for the kids. The other thing I want to say is one of the tools that I use more and more is something called the Globalese Lexicon. And you'll find that on my website, thepeopleslawyeruk.com. You can download it, share it, spread it, and show it to younger people, because it translates Globalese language into what they really mean, because we're in a world of double speak, and the youngsters don't know that. So they're taking the language of the globalists, which is fed into the schooling system, via UNESCO, because I hope people realise it's not the United States, it's UNESCO that are the biggest existential threat, because they're the ones that organise the curricula and the indoctrination, United Nations Educational and Scientific Organisation, and cultural organisation. So it's UNESCO, not just the WHO, UNESCO, anything to do with the United Nations, that are organising this collectivist indoctrinating system where language is weaponised. Language and time is weaponised, as Callie was saying. So we have to, we've got an uphill battle, but as long as we know the weapons, know your enemy, know what weapons they're using, and a lot of it is language. It's language. So if you get hold of the Globalese lexicon, that's one of the tools that you can use to debrief, de-school, de-indoctrinate, because they'll read something and go, oh wow, like for example, this is the one I always use in my talks, academic. Academic means of no practical use or value. But they're in a totally academic world. So hang on a minute, Mum, Dad, are you sending me to school? And according to the dictionary, and it's not my definition, it's the Oxford English Dictionary, of no practical use or value. So start softly, undermine the entire academic process, because it's the academics that are running the fascist globalist program. They're the ones given the most clout that everyone sort of, doffs their cap to. So,
excuse me, who was
Brilliant.
the name
Monty Toms, T-O-M-S, Montgomery Toms. He's about
Monty
7
Toms,
foot 8.
get him on the show. Yeah. Have you got contact for him?
Yes.
Get him in touch.
Yeah.
Let's go to another question. We've got a lawful question, which was good. Lady over there in the striped t-shirt, nice and loud.
I would like to take a PMA to the Small Claims Court for money they owe me. Is that possible? And also, if the court finds in my favour, how do I enforce the judgment?
A PMA. Could you explain what a PMA is?
Right. Oh, do you want to start?
Yeah, so they can get back, thank you.
That's just getting comfortable.
No, no comfort here.
Right, okay, there's a lot going on, right? So when you say PMA, that means Private Members Association, right? And you've got to make sure, is it a true PMA? Because if it is, you can't use the legal system and go after it. You can only use the legal system to go after things that are registered, all right? So you can only sue a registered business, for example. Because the legal system, the word legal means contract. I want everyone to understand that. So if someone says you've done something illegal, what that means is you violated a policy within a contract. So the next question you should ask is, I need to see the contract. All right? So legal means contract. The legal system is called a legal system because it's all contractual. It's all commerce. Now, what does commerce mean? Commerce means it deals with corporations and legal titles. It only deals with those dead entities, things that don't exist, okay? They do not deal with the living. It is impossible for you to sue a living, breathing man or woman using the legal system. You can't do it. So what you can do is you can sue their legal persona. Their legal persona is their birth certificate, which is in fact a corporation that was set up when you were registered at birth. And that's how you sue them. See, none of you in this audience actually owns anything. You don't own your house, you don't own your car, you don't own your business, you don't even own your children. The legal system does, because everything is in titles. That means I know how to sue somebody, because when I sue somebody, I'm not actually suing them, I'm suing their legal persona, I'm suing their birth certificate, I'm going after their corporation. They don't even know that. So a PMA, if it's a true PMA, there's two types of PMAs. One is just basically a private group, Private Members Association. And another version is if it's set up as a trust. Can't touch that either, unless it's a statutory trust, registered trust, okay? So you've got to understand that you can only use the legal system for legal purposes in commerce using legal titles and corporations. So you've got to find that out. This makes it really good. This makes it, this is why the system is so fragile, because the average person doesn't know how it works, but I do. Which means I can go after anybody I want and they don't even know how I'm doing it, okay? So you've got to dig deeper, have a look at the PMA, find out if it's a true PMA, you can't touch it, right?
Does the lady know what kind
Yeah,
of
what
PMA
time of PMA is it?
I don't know. It's a freedom movement PMA.
Freedom movement. It's probably not registered then. What you've got to try and do, before you sue somebody, this is a thing, You've got to play the long game, and you've got to create your case. Now, if you're going to use the legal system and the court system only deals in paperwork. That's it. When you walk into that room, they don't even listen to you. You can't be heard, all right? So you're only operating as a ghost director of your legal persona, which is your corporation. You're entering into that corporate court, and you're suing another legal persona, Billy Bob's legal persona. Billy Bob won't know, because he doesn't know the difference, okay? So everything is done in paperwork. So when you're going to sue somebody, create your case. Play it slow. Don't rush. I don't. I do things for months and years. I'm in a legal battle that's going on 4 years. So I play the slow game. So what you end up doing is you start serving notice on somebody. So let's say, for example, someone within that PMA might have done something against you. Let's say, I'm going to have to make up some names. Billy Bob. Billy Bob works for the PMA, and that's the person who's stolen your money, for example, right? Don't blame the PMA. In fact, don't go after corporations. That's another massive mistake. And do not sue the government. You will lose, because the government doesn't exist, and the government wants you to sue them, all right? So what you do is you find someone within that PMA and you make them liable. But you don't go straight in. You don't tell them what you're doing. You ask them some questions. You might serve notice of interest. And you get them to incriminate themselves. You do it in paperwork.
He's already incriminated himself.
Yes, excellent. You've got it in writing. You've got paperwork. Fantastic. So now you've got a name. Okay, don't need to know his true name, all right? And what you're going to do, if this is the first time you've done it, use the N1 claim form, which is basically the small claims court. Right? You can go up to 10 grand. Use that, build your case up, get your paperwork all done, use the N1 claim form, and then sue that person. In my book, I'm not trying to sell books, but this information, by the way, is free on my website to download. If you want to buy a book, you can. We also do an online course as well. There's the lean process in that book.
Posters and stickers and sorry.
Yes, yes, yeah. Yeah, do t-shirts, caps, and mugs. Yeah, we do. But the information is free anyway. So everything on the Sovereign Project, the information is all free, and if people want to buy a book, they can, and it helps us out. But there's the lean process, and it's a step-by-step guide on how to sue somebody, and there's attachment of earnings if you want to know how to do that, and it even shows you the forms that you want to fill out. Oh, by the way, forms. I'll just throw this in dead quick. Just remember, if you are using a form, you are entering into someone else's jurisdiction, because guess what? It's their form, isn't it? It's theirs. They control it. That's how, this is one of the ways the system traps you, by getting you to fill out forms. So stop filling out forms. It's like a speeding ticket. That's how they trap you. They send you a form, you fill it out, you send it back, yeah, now you've got to pay. But if you actually did your own notice in your own writing, you sent it back, they can't. So only fill out forms if you know what you're doing. And if you're going to use the legal system and you're going to use the N1 claim form, then yes, you're going to use their forms. Yes, you will be using your surname. Your surname is not your name, it's a surety name. Surety name means debtor name, but it's your corporation. So when you go into that court, just know that you're the ghost director of your corporation and you're suing another corporation, which will be Billy Bob. So put your case together. Send everything recorded delivery, all right? Keep all your receipts, because if you send it through Royal Mail and you go to court, the court accepts it and says, Billy Bob got that. He can turn around and say, oh, I never got it. No, it doesn't matter. Royal Mail says you did. All right, so that's very powerful. You go and you file it. As long as your case is solid, as long as your paperwork is solid, and Billy Bob's is not, you'll win. And then you'll just get your £10,000.
But how do you, because the court just say you've got to pay, but how do they make him pay?
Okay, this is how it works. So, I've done this a few times. And so what you end up doing is, when you get a summary judgment, so basically what happens, you go to court and the magistrate will read the two sides of the paperwork. Okay, there's my paperwork, there's this paperwork, and then he'll make a determination on who wins. I get me summary judgment. So summary judgment basically means I've won. Okay, so I go, okay, thank you very much. Now, here's the thing about the legal system. We all know we don't use money, correct? All right, we use a debt-based system, credit and debt, all right? In the legal system, debt does not exist unless two things. First, the court says so, or a bond is created and then a QSIT number is attached, then the bond and the debt is actually created, okay? So you get a summary judgment, I get that from the court, thank you very much, I've won. I then serve notice onto the person I'm suing, saying I've got a summary judgment, you've lost, you owe me £10,000, whatever I'm suing them for. I give them 30 days to pay. If I still don't get that money, if they decide not to do that, I then file out the paperwork, I go back into court, then the court will create what is called a liability order. Right, so a liability order means you are now liable to pay. Now a liability order is very powerful within the legal system because that means the debt has now been created. Right? So once a liability order is done, the court can step in, and that's when I get bailiffs. I'll use bailiffs because I send bailiffs, proper ones, the ones who are court appointed and they've got warrant cards and all the rest of it. They actually work for the courts, not these fake debt collectors who have no authority whatsoever. That's different. But I will use court appointed bailiffs, and they will go with my paperwork, I won't, and they'll go with the liability order, a genuine one, and they'll go to the person and they'll put chains, they've done it, they walked in and put chains on the guy's business. And then he went, oh God, and he went off and got my money. So that's how you do it, but the court does it all for you. You can make the court do the work for you if you know how to do it, okay? But I don't want to tell everyone it's not easy. I don't think it's not dead quick, right? It can take, I think when I sue someone, it takes 6 months, 8 months. Normally I win after that. Some of them took a couple of years, all right? So be in it for the long game, all right? So hopefully that's answered your question, all right?
Can I just add something? If you go onto Google and you put in EX321, that'll give you a whole list of different options that you can read.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
What does EX321 mean?
It's
Is it a
how
website?
to get enforcement from your judgment.
Right, okay. Grand. This gentleman over here.
Yeah, do you want a question?
With regards to notices, Peter,
Mortgages?
notices.
Notices, okay,
Yes.
sorry.
I've sent quite a few. I've had quite
Yes.
a bit of success. I haven't been kicked out. I've had enforcement officers after me, and
Okay.
now you and do one sort of thing.
Right.
I've done a lot of notices where where you put the stamp in the corner.
Oh yeah,
and the thumbprint on.
Yes.
And at the bottom I've done that, and on the back of the page with the stamp and the thumbprint, obviously off other sites.
Yes.
Maybe some information from your own site as well.
Yes.
Now people are saying
it's not necessary.
It's not necessary.
No.
Now I'm doing the notices in blue ink.
Okay.
Commerce.
That's not necessary.
Sometimes I've been putting thumbprints in blue ink where it could be red or purple.
Right.
I've used all rights reserved
Okay.
and my name with the colons, etc.
Okay.
Do you have
I was doing something wrong there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you tried dipping it in Ribena? That also. It's all like, I mean, well, the gentleman there, it's quite interesting because you do hear all of this stuff about red ink, purple ink, green ink, elbow grease, and something under the
It's
sun.
using the Universal Postal Union rules, isn't it?
Right, okay, there's multiple jurisdictions going on here. What you've got to try and do is you've got to understand the legal system has multiple jurisdictions, and you've got to choose which jurisdiction you're going to operate in. It's like being in a casino. You walk into a casino and there's a whole load of different gambling. You've got roulette, blackjack. Which game am I going to sit down? Which game am I going to play? Now, a lot of people get mixed up with these jurisdictions. So, the thumbprint and the stamp, all this sort of stuff. The thing with the thumbprint, a red thumbprint means endorsement of the living. Red symbolises the living, okay? You've got some other colours, black and blue. Black symbolises the debtor, blue symbolises the creditor within commerce. So, for example, when you take out a mortgage, they'll get you to sign in blue ink because you're the creditor, which is creating the credit. The new money's just been created out of thin air. And by the way, they get you because they will make sure that you use blue ink because they'll offer you the pen. And it'll be a really nice pen, all right? Because when I took out my mortgage when I was 20, there was a lovely lady and I was there and all the rest of it. She said, oh, would you like to use my pen? And it was like Parker silver, and oh, a nice pen, what's all of that? I didn't know it was blue, blue ink.
Makes you feel those
Yeah. Oh, by the way, to create a mortgage, there has to be 2 signatures, right? And they do it. You got it. I told you that. Yes, because the mortgage advisor will put the X's. He'll say, "Can you sign there, there, and there?" That's the first signature, and then you put yours on. There's the 2 signatures. Now the credit can be created or facilitated. Anyway.
And it's the sign of the cross. So it's very
It's a sign-
spiritually symbolic as well. The cross is a folded cube which keeps you in matter for the dead fiction.
It's also, by the way, the signature of the simpleton.
Yes. And the
Right,
sign
the
way of
cross.
sticking
So could you use that
sign.
against them if it's
The
signature
sign.
of a simpleton?
Sign my
You can challenge your mortgage.
Not that I mean, my mortgage is long gone, I had it repossessed.
Well, you can still
because-
challenge it because you say you made payments that you want back.
Yeah, well,
And that's something we're working on.
Yeah, I lost it during the credit crunch. I had to sell it at a knockdown price, but I've learned since then.
Yeah, you still made payments. You still due them back because it was a fraudulent loan. It wasn't a loan. They didn't loan you anything.
Yeah, it came out of my treasury account, didn't it?
That's right. It came out of your foreign scientist trust operating at the national level. In the second
Double
jurisdiction.
dipping with interest.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So anyway, did we get to the end of your question about forms?
Notices. Oh no, the jurisdictions. Do you want to know about the jurisdictions? Right. Let me explain the jurisdictions. Right. So this is where people are going wrong. They're using stamps, thumbprint, and all this. Right. And they're not. It doesn't work. Especially if you're dealing with like credit card companies, debt collectors, and all. It doesn't work. Treat it as commerce. Right. Yes, it's good to know that a lot of you are learning the difference now between the living and the dead. We understand that. The all caps name is the dead entity, black ink is a dead entity, right? But you can't mix jurisdictions. So putting a stamp onto your paperwork is basically taking that paperwork and it's now operating in the jurisdiction of Royal Mail. Now Royal Mail, you've got Royal Mail Office and Royal Mail Service. The service is them delivering the mail. And corporations use that service, but they don't use stamps, right? They'll frank it, so that's the service. Royal Mail Office is a court. It's the highest court there is in the legal system. So putting a stamp on there, you're saying it's going through the court. So it's like, there you go, it's recognised, right? And then you endorse it with your thumbprint, that's the living. Now, if you're dealing with a credit card company, a mortgage company, or anything like that, you cannot use the living, breathing autograph, like purple ink, red ink. It's not recognised. You have to sign either as the blue or the black, otherwise they won't recognise it. They'll go, what's this thumbprint stuff? Don't get it. And you can't use the language like, I'm the living man, because you're mixing jurisdictions. And basically the credit card companies going, don't understand, and they'll just ignore you, all right? So treat it as commerce, get into commerce. Remember, you are a ghost director of your birth certificate, which is a corporation. Treat it like that. Treat it like business.
Do you say on your paperwork that you are the ghost director of this legal fiction?
No, don't have to.
How do they then know that the difference that you know that you're the ghost director and you're not just acting ignorantly as the legal fiction?
You can write director if you wish, But you can. This is a good question. Here is how the system works against you. Is that they hope that you will assume stuff. Like, for example, the average person well, probably not in this group, but the average retard out there thinks...
Ordinary everyday
Ordinary, I know, I've got to try and use clean language, but sometimes I get frustrated.
We've got to stay honourable, haven't we?
Got to stay honourable.
The plebs.
The plebs. The plebs.
I got that from you.
Yes. So the plebs assume that MPs work for us. They don't. They assume the police work for us. They don't, all right? They assume that taxes pay for government services. No, it doesn't. So it's all based on assumption, all right? And we can play that game as well, because they can assume whatever they want. And if they get the assumption wrong, whoopsie, you're in my game now. I pulled you into my jurisdiction. So you can play the game. So you don't have to tip your hand. You don't have to tell them anything. As long as you understand the game, as long as you can play the game and you know what the rules are, then that's good enough, and then you can play the game. So do you understand jurisdictions now with notices?
Yes, I have one further point.
Okay.
I filed with the UCC, would that be an advantage or a disadvantage?
Okay, UCC, Universal...
Uniform Commercial
Thank
Code.
you, thank you. Yes. Yes, now it does operate in America.
Yeah.
Okay, now the way I can figure it out, it doesn't... Now, okay, does everyone understand that a country is a corporation? Right, the UK is a corporation. It's not the land I'm standing on. This is not UK. They're not UK roads. It's a corporation. Okay. Now, as far as I can tell, the UK corporation itself directly does not use UCC. Indirectly, it does. I think it's through Unijoint agreement or something like that. I've got to research that. Okay, but other corporate countries do use UCC. But at the low level, okay, because remember the UK, and especially the government, operates in the third jurisdiction. You've got three main jurisdictions of the overall system, right? First jurisdiction is your jurisdiction, that's the private, that's the most powerful. Second jurisdiction is the national level, diplomatic immunity, all this sort of stuff, okay? Third jurisdiction is the jurisdiction of the pauper. This is where you are not allowed to own anything. This is where the government operates. This is where acts and statutes operate and all this sort of stuff, okay? This is where you own nothing. You use promissory notes. You're not allowed to use money, all that sort of stuff. So that's the third jurisdiction. By the way, that's where politics operates as well, which is just Punch and Judy show. So, got to learn the jurisdictions, and then you can start playing the game. If you want to know more, ask me more questions, and we can get into the.
If you put one.
Whoa! Look, we need to have a break in a minute.
Yes.
So,
but ask me after the break.
It's just a quick one.
Okay.
Go on.
England, etc., is corporation.
That's
Can you
correct.
use Albion or
Well
Croydon?
done. Well done. Albion is actually the name of the
Yeah.
land. It goes back several
You
thousand
could
years.
put that on your notices, or would they
No,
just
no,
do-
no, 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 no,
No.
no, no. You're mixing jurisdictions again,
Ah.
right?
I just wanted
Just
sorry,
put your
sorry
bus-
everybody if I've kept it.
No, it's fine, it's fine. Treat it as commerce. When you're using the legal system, just think you are a director of a corporation, and I'm going to treat it as such. Don't mix the living, all right? So no living, breathing man, I live on the land, none of that, okay? We can get into postcodes and addresses and all this later on. If you want to know why you don't own anything, by the way, if you learn why you don't own anything, I can explain how you can claim everything back. That's your house, your car, and yeah. Because I've been the system is so fragile. I've been so frustrated because all these people are panicking over debts. I say, you don't have a debt. You haven't got a mortgage on a property. You've got a mortgage on an address. But we can get into that. Anyway.
Right. Okay. So thank you, Peter. Give him a big round of applause. We'll take one more question and then we'll have a break. And obviously you'll have access to the clever clogs and tip them well. So, who has anybody else got a question?
Can you go through the format of the day for the people that arrived late?
Yes, the format of the day. Over to Karen.
The format of the day, well, we kicked off at 10 o'clock and we were going to have a break about 11:30. Teas and coffees out there. Then we're going to carry on till about 1. As it's all vague, it depends how the questions and the answers go. Lunchtime will be for an hour, let's say about an hour, because they're not serving food here. So some of you might have brought some lunch, otherwise just it's a, I don't know, 8-minute walk into town to get something. Then we come back at 2 and have another break about 2:30. Oh gosh, hang on. We come back at 2. Well, we'll have an afternoon break. We'll go with the flow, and then we're going to shut at 4. I've got to shut. I'm going to go at 4. Some people might stay, but a lot of us, you know, we've
Probably booked the room till 4, haven't you?
Yeah, we've got the room till 4, but I know
the room's till 5.
The room's till 5. So I mean, Dean's local, and I don't know how the others are, but you know, some of us do need to go back south.
And is it all Q&A or the lectures?
Oh yes, so no, it is Q&A. The idea is to put your
Q&A.
hand up, and if you want to direct it to one person, fine. Otherwise, most of them will have a say on it. And I would also say, I don't know if you remember Benny Hill. Do you remember Benny Hill? Wonderful. Did you ever see? Oh, he was wonderful. He was, and he did a sketch. He was a teacher with the funny eyes, that kind of funny eyes, and he said, never assume, because it makes an ass out of you and me.
Correct.
That's one of yours, isn't it, Kylie? Because you love all these words.
I do love the words.
Yeah, yeah, and it's so true. Yeah.
So let's take another question. Lady at the back there.
So I have 3 LED lights outside my house. Last year I had a heart attack because of lights. 8 trees have fallen down in front of the lights. My dog died, and there's no birds in the garden. So I'm trying to get the council to take them down. They're refusing. I've got 3 notices, and they're saying they won't do it. What do I do?
Did they give a reason why they won't do it?
Yeah, because of the dog walkers.
Because the dog walkers need the light, so they won't change the light for a different system.
No.
Can I?
And there's no pavements, by the way.
I was with Mark Steele. I know he's a little bit controversial, a little bit divisive, depending on what you think. But he is quite happy to turn up and help people with this stuff physically in person. So, well, I shouldn't say person, should I? But you may be worth contacting, because when I did a talk with him and I listened to his talk, he talked very much about this specifically. So, and he literally will turn up and take people to court.
Yeah,
yeah, he's got some great contacts. He's got some, you know, he's a very, very knowledgeable guy, and he's done it. You know, he's gone into Gateshead Council and he's done it. He's done it in quite a few places as well. So
I have contact with Ian Jarvis, who lives in Wolverhampton near me, and he is in contact with Mark about my lights.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I mean, and this is it, isn't it? You know, it's he who makes the claim is one of the biggest maxims at law, has to provide the evidence. So if you're kind of asking the right questions, and you can gather that evidence and put that together, it's just having somebody who's got that experience to kind of go in the courtroom. It's like what Pete says, a lot of people think that the court is the room with the actors, but it's the paperwork, that's what they recognise, and evidencing, else that court, that stage, that theatre, will act on presumptions, assumptions, tacit acquiescence, our silence, and hearsay.
Yeah.
It'll just make shit up, basically.
Yeah.
Do you have evidence? Do you have photographs of the situation over a period of time, or?
I have photographs. I have photographs of the lights, but of course I can't prove that it caused my heart
But
attack.
you're into high level electromagnetic radiation.
Yeah.
You're into devices that then, so if you have an EPC on your house, me and my brother here are both electricians, but I'm also into AV and radio frequency controls.
And anti-LED, yeah.
And then we found in Sheffield where I've done lots of these big AV systems, and suddenly they all stopped working at specific times. And I realised, because I'm a radio ham as well over the years, and we start to measure this, that the frequencies block the RF control systems in people's houses. And then once you get in the idea that you've got a visible light and you've got the invisible section, then it starts to transpire that they can transmit other things over LED. And then very quickly going into EPC, where you've got a standard analog meter, and this Muppet EPC guy comes in, well, no, we've got to downgrade you, and you're going to have a smart meter. But then when you electrically measure the facts, that smart meters cannot measure correctly LED lighting to the point of 37%. So your LED lights on smart meters misread anyway, and they're not inversely proportional to dimming, where you've got an old halogen light that knocks a power when it dims and it's correctly measured. You realise the whole thing's a scam, because your LED lamps that cost more, and I've spent my life changing these £100 lamps because they've gone. The whole LED thing is immense. So a very simple RF meter, you'll see the amount of radiation, and I show to people, you turn on your lounge lights, this thing's buzzing all over the house of your high frequency electromagnetic stuff that doesn't read. And because smart meters measure maximum frequency, and LED lights throw out spurious high frequencies, they don't measure current. So I find all this really, you know, I'm so anti LED in box.
So just to move on with regards to collecting evidence, Ed, you've got a device. There you go. Talk with Ed about potentially measuring it and collecting evidence.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Can I, okay, I think we're all trying too hard to prove things that are very difficult to prove.
Yeah.
So what I remember, in the real world you're suffering. So I wouldn't go down the route of paperwork. I would go down the route of, well, some paperwork might be involved, but it should be them proving to you that they're safe. Not you proving that they're unsafe. And you say, failure to prove that these devices are safe will mean that I will invoke lawful excuse. And lawful excuse means that I will dismantle them and offer them you back, or offer them you safekeeping, safe custody, chain of custody, until you can prove that they are safe.
But they're banning all the alternatives. They're making it illegal.
So it's all, but okay, but that's almost a side issue.
Oh,
The
no,
point is that across the board, whether it's LED lighting, schooling, hospitalisation, we have to turn, you know, we have to put the ball always in their court. If we're trying hard to prove things with photographs and testimonies and experts, we're already wrong. I mean, we're right, but we're wrong, if you see what I mean. Because, you know, we're just one voice. You have to get them to prove that what they're doing is right. So you give them notice of, if in some situations it'd be notice of conditional acceptance, but if this one would be notice of harm, yeah, and notice of cease and desist, basically, and just say subject to, if you fail to comply with these notices, I'm giving you notice of invocation of lawful excuse. Lawful excuse means that you can steal food if you are starving, because it won't be theft. It will be lawful excuse. This is ancient common law custom.
Can we, presumably we could do that with 5G if they're unable to provide.
Across the board, lawful excuse. You don't wait for the. I'll get back on. You don't wait for lawful operatives to feed you evidence that it's not safe. You don't wait, because that could take forever. Meanwhile, you're suffering. We're suffering. You go on the attack, right? We're invoking lawful excuse unless you provide within 30 days evidence that means that what we would do would not be lawful because it is safe. So provide evidence that it's safe, we will back off. They can't do that, obviously. So then you move forward. But we have to turn everything around, folks. Otherwise.
Well, they run 5G through your lights as well. Similar, high frequency microwave technologies.
So thanks, Dad. I think you're giving us a format, and electromagnetic radiation is massive. I'm thinking that connected to this Wi-Fi in the workplace and public space is a big issue. In my workplace, when you check on your phone, you're looking for a Wi-Fi signal. At home, maybe you've got like your own Wi-Fi that's strong, and a few neighbours, you might have 2 or 3. In my workplace, there's 10 or 11 strong Wi-Fi signals. It's what they call a joint service centre. So you've got the GPs, you've got social services, there's loads. So there I am, realising I'm sat in this kind of soup.
Getting your brain cooked.
Yeah, all day. And I thought in my mind I made this, and it's like analogous to smoking. Back in the day, people could smoke at work, couldn't they? In council buildings, you could smoke at work, but over time, there was that sense of that they have a duty of care to the employees. They made it safe. But now it's not safe, and there's no evidence, to my understanding, there's no long-term studies that demonstrate this stuff is safe. But yet we know there are harms that, I have good health. I can't say I've got this injury, but I just don't feel it's safe. We don't have a choice. It's policy for them. They're taking out the wires in workplaces so that it's cheaper for them to operate wireless.
Back in the day, back during COVID, we got amazing success with people being coerced to wear masks and take jabs, simply by asking for the health and safety impact, assessment or evaluation. That's all. Health and safety evaluation. That's all you need.
I have asked them for that, and I've asked them for a cost-benefit analysis. They won't supply anything.
Oh, well, of course they won't, because they haven't got it.
They haven't got it.
Right, so now you go to the next level, is failure to provide. You give them one more notice, failure to provide, you ask them one more time to stay in honour. Failure to provide will mean that I operate lawful excuse and organise a safe and effective dismantling of your illegal and unlawful instruments and devices. That's all. We've got to get real, folks. We're suffering real time, real world damage. Paperwork doesn't cut it.
Is that when the bulldozer comes in and...
the Blade Runners are showing the way. I don't know if you know, the 27th of July they have this massive call for a protest across the country. Yeah. And I think, all right, but we've done protests. We did Iraq. We did COVID. What we need is this is a suggestion, no more, that when we do a protest, and on the whole they are good because people come together, but they must have an effect. Now, why can't they go on a march and as they march dismantle all the surveillance cameras? Because otherwise there's no point in going on a march. Right, so it has to be, so you have to have teams and they stop every 50 metres or whatever it is to dismantle another camera. We could take down thousands of cameras in one day. Maybe, it's because it's the cameras that represent the beast. The beast is spying on us and the beast is coming for us. And if we keep on doing paperwork and ignoring the cameras, then we're not fighting this war appropriately. We're just, what? The beast he's not interested in paperwork, it's the all-seeing eye, and we need to take those cameras down. And very briefly, because I know we're running out of time, we also have to consider not just surveillance cameras, but all gadgets, because they're part of the Bluetooth Low Energy Mesh Network. Anyone heard of that?
Yeah, Sabrina Hall areas.
Yeah, Bluetooth Low Energy Mesh Network. They don't need Wi-Fi or the internet.
We are the nodes on the network.
Yeah, we are the nodes. Anyone wearing or carrying a gadget, and that's why we've got to take down the surveillance cameras, because otherwise we are totally surveilled within a millimetre of our lives. So this is a major initiative that we need to organise. Yeah?
What was that again, David?
Bluetooth, LE, low energy.
It's 802.15, isn't it? Something like that.
I don't know the number, but mesh network. In other words, the gadget. So.
Is there a website?
Not sure. Okay. So the ultimate beast will, that singularity means that all these gadgets and machines will one day soon just be controllable by one intelligence.
It's the internet.
And that's what?
Is that the internet?
No, it's not the internet. It doesn't require an internet. No. That's why it's so dangerous.
Worse.
Yeah, they could switch us. The internet's for us, believe it or not. They switch us off, but they keep the mesh network going, and all of a sudden we can't speak to each other, but all the gadgets can speak to each other. Switch off our fridge, switch off our life support, switch off, supermarket can't get in.
LED lighting's just another transmission tool.
Yeah.
And they get the visible light and the invisible.
The lighting and the cameras, they've got to come down. And if they don't take them down, we have to take them. Who's going to take them down if it's not us? Who's going to take them down?
David, is that comparable to Chinese Skynet?
Chinese Skynet, yes, possibly. Yeah.
It all sounds like Terminator 2 films, and it's kind of playing out. And protest actually means in legal terms to accept the terms of the condition, yet be unhappy about it. So, and petition means to beg. So like David said, the time for petitioning and protesting. I think it's great to bring people together if there's kind of an action in it. Because the system actually makes money off everybody protesting. I always said, can you imagine if everyone who went down to London, I've only done it once as a bit of a networking event, and we all I spent about 200 quid getting down there.
Great for economy.
If a million people all stuck the money in a pot, what we could then do with that pot, corporation against corporation, we've got to fight fire with fire, really. Absolutely.
Invest in angle grinders.
Yeah.
I do humour, but this is serious. This is not a laughing. We've got to take down that infrastructure. End of.
Well, I mean, if we're on that, there are only 4 data centres in the UK that control the whole.
Yeah.
So you only give supply Semtex or Cordon?
Lady over there.
It's just following on from this, because I love the idea of direct action, but you were saying on the one hand that you have to serve these notices, but then you're saying on a protest you can just pull them down. So
You don't need to serve a it's two different ball games. This is an individual with an individual issue. So when 1 million of us are not going to turn up and take down, but generally 1 million of us, when we do come together, we need to do something proactive and useful. Otherwise we're stuck in academia. Aren't we? Yeah. In theory we're so right, but in practice we're doing nothing about it. It's actually a symptom of insanity to turn up 1 million mob handed, which is what we did several times in Trafalgar Square, and do nothing. We did nothing. And when we got a kicking by the Eastern Europeans dressed as Met Police, we deserved it, because we were useless. We did nothing. And that includes me. I just sat having a coffee because I smelt a rat, thinking we're going to get beaten up today. Right? I hadn't got my act together yet, because none of us had. We to be fair, we were all in a daze. Third World War was new to us, right? It's a shock, and we're all in shock. But we've had time to recover from the shock, regroup, and plan the counter. Which is, yes, counter-propaganda, but it's countermeasures, which means take down their infrastructure.
Can't somebody turn up at this lady's house, people that we might know, why can't they take it down, then she can plead ignorance? It's not her that's taking it down.
Absolutely.
That's what happened with the bailiff in what are they called? On the car.
There is Helen, isn't there? There's like the rapid response.
That's what we did, exactly. So they put a clamp on, certain people took it off, and then when they blamed the person whose car it was, they were like, well, actually, I didn't do that. I don't know who did that. So could people not do that for that lady?
I mean, in the meantime, if you can afford 3 Faraday cages, 3 Faraday bags, as an interim measure, just stick them on, you know, and find someone with a ladder. So a ladder and a Faraday bag, you know, that's a short term, that'll give you immediate relief.
Or we just
Well,
get rid of
you
it.
can turn off the thing at the bottom, you know, you unscrew it and
Yeah, there's
no,
lots.
that's quite easy. You set the cable.
Yeah,
I did it on,
we've got one more question.
I've got one
related
outside
to
your
that. It
bedroom.
must be hurting, it's been out for ages. This lovely lady, last question before I break.
Okay, I'm really going to have a go at quite sort of a request to meditate on something. So I'm going to have a go at articulating it. But I've been wrestling with the chasm between the first question, no young people, to the magnitude of what we need to achieve. Get the land back, get our whole governance back. It's huge. And I'm noticing a proposal from David on how we could be more strategic and collective. So there's a plea to meditate on people who really got to grips with this system, you know, so how to reconvey. I've got questions around, you know, how accessing necessity, how do we actually get resources back big time? How do we think big and really be achieving what we need?
Well, I can answer that for you.
Go on then.
Join the Sovereign Project, right? Because the Sovereign Project is a massive global network. Want me to stand up again?
Yeah, we like to see
All
that.
right then, I get energized when I stand up, you know.
We'll pull you back down.
Yeah. So join the Sovereign Project, right? So what we're creating is a global network of sovereign people. That's people who've actually woken up, become sovereign. It's not a name badge. You have to become sovereign. You can't fake it. When you do become sovereign, then you have your own power. Okay. We've already got all the plans in place to topple the globalists, and we know how to do it. And you can do it from the safety of your own home. All right. Now, talking about petitions and protests, Callie is absolutely correct. You should never petition, you should never protest, because you're actually accepting the obligation, right? So if you protest against something, you're accepting it does apply to you. You're accepting the obligation, so you've lost the game already. Think about it. The government itself sends out petitions that you can sign. It's a trap. Don't do it. I talk about it in the book. I'm not selling books, but it's in there.
Selling them very well.
I am, aren't I?
How much are they?
Just 20 quid. But there's a page on there, a whole chapter on all these simple traps. So don't petition, don't do any of this. So we are setting up a global litigation team, and we're setting up workshops, chess clubs, and loan nights throughout the whole globe. Okay, we've got, I think, running on about 16, 17 workshops. We've got multiple chess clubs set up. This is groups of people that you can meet up every week and discuss things. And then you've got loan nights. Let's say that you're in a remote area, you can be part of the network as well, and you get given all this information. Now, what we're trying to do is we're going to do this first within the UK corporation. Now, within the UK corporation, there's 650 employees called politicians. And what I need is somebody who lives in a geographic location of each ward of each of these politicians. And then what we'll do is we serve notice on the politician by name to cease and desist. And we're making him liable for 5G and everything, 15-minute cities, the whole thing. See, I used to play politics back in 2015. You can look me up. I did dabble in it. So yeah, and so I did dabble in it. Now, I was told by a politician who'd been doing this for a very, very long time. He says there's one thing that politicians fear the most, and that is being directly sued. They can't handle that, and they'll normally leave and they quit, all right? But they love it if you sue government or councils. I was going to say, don't sue the council, sue someone who works for the council, an employee. This is how you get them, okay? Because they're hiding behind legal fictions called corporations. You can't sue government, doesn't exist. You can't sue the council, doesn't exist, all right? So you sue the individuals. So what we're going to be doing is, once we've got the numbers up, and these 650 plus people who's ready to do this, and I want thousands of people doing this, is you tell them to cease and desist. We're not asking, we're not begging, we're not doing a petition, pretty please can you switch off the 5G? No, I'm telling you, I'm serving notice. You've got 30 days, and if you don't, I will see you in court. And when these politicians get hundreds of thousands of these notices coming in, it's going to be, oh, we're over, we're gone, and they'll leg it. And that's when it starts folding. Another way is stop feeding the beast. Yeah. Who do you think pays for the 5G towers? And the 15-minute cities and all the rest of the crap they're bringing out, right? Yeah, in the US cameras. Who do you think pays for it? You're the creditor, right? Here's the thing: the system's so fragile. I wish people would wake up. If only a small, it really is. I'm not. Please wake up. But you all think you're in debt and all the rest of it, and there's tyranny coming, and you've got all this horrible stuff coming, and all the rest of it. You are the creditor that's paying for all of this. Because you're the creditor, it creates what is called a national debt. The national debt is what the government, as a corporation, owes you. All right? So the national debt of the UK corporation is running at about 3.2 trillion, I think it is. And they spend about £5,000 per second. That's your money, you're the creditor. Now, they can only keep this Ponzi scheme going through the taxes that you pay. Because the tax you pay actually pays the interest on the debt. That's all it does. Now, if you don't pay the tax, and by the way, tax is contractual, it's voluntary, all right? You can't be forced to pay tax. That makes you a slave. So you just challenge the contract. Where's the contract that I've got to pay tax? Oh, guess what? Doesn't exist. So if you stop paying the tax, they don't have the interest to pay the national debt. The national debt collapses. The currency is over. All debts are wiped out. Their entire system fails. No more 15-minute cities, 5G or anything like that. And by the way, I don't say buy gold, but I would tip my hand, get yourself some gold. Because if you get some gold, where do you think all that wealth's going to go when the system folds? Into gold. And if you've got a few gold coins, you'll be a multi-millionaire and you'll be set up for life. But that's just the cliff notes, all right? If you want to know more, ask me after the break.
Right. Can I add one thing? Just as before we go for our break, when we've been setting up these groups, whatever group it is, Stand in the Park, Freedom Hubs, Assemblies, whatever, we're all coming together, and I'm sure, are you all a member of a group? Is everybody here? Is there anybody that is like a lone wolf where they're on their own? Some people are on their own. Okay. Wow, you've been ostracised. You've been a naughty boy. I don't know why, but I'm interested. But well, for those of us that have been part of groups, the fallout within groups is absolutely phenomenal, and I think it's unacceptable because we know what is going on. We know there's a bunch of bastards with initials. These are groups, the WHO, the WEF, and whatever, UN, all of these. We know they're after us, so we should be coming together. We come together, and then we don't like her because she said that, and he did this, and and they're falling apart. London's falling apart through the Freedom Network because she said that and he did this.
Ego.
Absolutely massive. Leave your egos at the door. Leave your victim. Leave your victim and leave your trauma at the door. Put that aside and get on with the job in hand. Because we are going to come together and it will work because this is a spiritual battle. Meditation is absolutely crucial, because we need to realise not who we are but what we are, and we are so powerful. But we have to recognise that the ego has to be left behind. Else what's the point? Anyway, that was my bit.
Go on,
Callie.
So when we have like the New World Order, as we call it, and then you've got the WEF, if you flick those two words around, you get a few own. So they're telling us all the time. So again, is what these public servants are. This is the thing that we've forgotten. And like me and Pete were saying, there is no general public. Yeah, that's them bringing you into commerce. He who creates owns. We create government, not the other way around. And as we know, government means mind control. So this has gone on for thousands of years. It's not that simple. But yeah, it's just a case of us all coming together and working together to kind of... it's malfeasance and misfeasance in office, what they're doing. And that carries a 7 to 10 year penalty. And this is what we need to start making those public servants who serve us, even though they are the public servants, we are not. And we need to, like that kind of pyramid and that hierarchy of that tree, we need to turn it back round, because it's just about flipping it, flipping the pyramid.
Governance, not government.
Government, yeah.
Governance.
Yes, governance, that's the word.
I govern myself. I have no need for government
Yeah,
at all. No man does. No man does. No man has need for government. I have dominion, okay? I have first title of my house. There's no one above me. All right? That's what men are supposed to do. Men are supposed to provide and protect. Our job as men is to protect women and children, period, end of. I have no need for government at all. So yeah, I govern myself, and I think all men in this room should say the same thing.
Go on then.
Yeah. Does all the men agree? Yeah? Right? All the men. Alright? I am doing it.
It's about time a lot of the men in this country of ours got some balls.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. Absolutely 100%.
The trouble that we have with this master servant thing is that when we were in the classroom, and everything goes down back to classroom, the teacher, government employee, was supposed to be and is supposed to be the servant, right? And the boy or girl is supposed to be the master, and the teacher is supposed to be serving the master. Well, how many classrooms are obeying that, complying with that dynamic? So the first thing we do is to reverse the master-servant principle in our minds, and we become the master. It doesn't mean we're lording it over anyone, we're just not allowing anyone else to lord it over us. And that we operate the free will choice principle, which is what we're supposed to be born into on this planet. Free will choice, master of our own body. That's how I define sovereignty. I don't know how Pete defines it, but my idea of sovereignty is free will choice over everything I do, say, feel and think. Yeah? And bodily autonomy is a massive part of that. So if we can reverse in our minds the schooling process, then all the things that we do as a result of that are coming from a stronger, better place. Otherwise we're holding ourselves back, because in our minds we're still that little helpless kid that felt intimidated and humiliated and is easily triggered now 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years later. And it's, you know, you just see a uniform, isn't it? You just see a uniform or right? Yeah, and we have to deal with that. We have to deal with that fear, because that's what they're using against us.
And I think that's changed, hasn't it, David? Like, do you remember when you were younger and you saw like a police constable, kind of almost maybe, you know, and he'd have a chat with you, and now you see them and you're like, like, you know, and that energy can, you know, it's a huge shift. And politics, you know, many ticks, parasites, many parasites, again, you know, in the language of it. So again, it's just like decoding the whole show.
And I've got, if anyone wants cards for their kids, if they have to stay in school, I've got my school protection cards here. Yeah.
And you sell books.
And I sell books.
Oh, David, you sell books. Shame of it.
Actually, £19.99.
A penny cheaper.
What is it called?
School no place for children. I've only got 3 on me because I'm a rucksack boy today. So
by the way, if you go on my website, I'm actually promoting his book.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Your book is on my website.
Oh,
link.
Fantastic! I should promote yours.
Yeah, I think you should.
Anyway, on that note, we will now have a break. Cups of tea and coffee. Where are they going to be?
They're going to be around there. I think you need to pay for them. Yeah, if you go through that door or that door.
Otherwise, grab hold of our clever clock.
15, 20 minutes, I'll ring the bell.
Yeah.
15, 20 minutes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Shocking things that is nice.